Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Rocket Monday, we're going to talk about current news, Russia to leave ISS after 2024. So let's dive right into it. Now, before we understand the news that happened on 26 July 2022, you have to understand every partner of ISS, be it ESA, be it NASA, be it Russia, they all have certain rules. Basically, they are all agreeing to it that they're going to study their parts, their equipments, their modules, and after they studied it, they will try to improve its lifespan beyond a certain point. It has to be done every fixed interval, basically every 4 years or 6 years. Like it has to be agreed upon, and they have to do. Now, Russia pulled out last time, meaning inherently they were ready to give up on 2024. So this news is not whoa. This news is more like, I think you are serious about this. So basically, Roscosmos, headed by a different individual, provided a timeline for this action. Before this, it was just like we're not gonna invest in repairing our stuff and maintaining it. It's just like a timeline we're gonna pull out. Now that's only 2 years from now, so that's not too far apart. Now they have claimed that they're gonna fulfill all the obligations. Meaning, if they had a seat booked for someone, they will honor that agreement. If they had any spacewalk, they will honor that agreement. Everything that they have claimed till 2024 will be fulfilled. After that, they are like YOLO. So this is the whole point. They will fulfill all prior commitments, but they will not extend after 2024. It's not just like, okay, we're not gonna repair our thing. It's like, no, we out. Basically, we are no longer send our stuff, and that happened. And it's a very big deal for different reasons. I'll explain that further. Now, there is a good chance, and there may be a chance by the time you're watching this video, some news has come that it was at the end of the day pandering, simply because it looks like just a show of force. It literally looks like, because you said that, last time when we had this conversation, it's like, why didn't you decide at that point in time? It's like this time looks very off, so to say. Now, their current claim is that Russia should build their own space station. I'm like, space station is neither cheap nor quick. If you let go in 2024, at best case scenario, at idiotically high speed rate, if you're working, you can make a module in 2-3 years. You can launch it and have everything going at best by 2026. And if you sacrifice safety and security, then maybe 2024. But realistically, that is like hyper exaggerated. So realistically, it's not something that you're gonna have. Like, you could have a 10 years, upwards of 10 years of blank space where you had nothing. Like, all your astronauts, all your basically human rated equipment would be just trolling around. So that does not make sense. Just like saying we're gonna have manned project, it's not that easy. It takes decades of planning and decades of work before you reach that point, and you're just giving up the old one. And unless you had a replacement pre-built into it, pre-built in production, then it's a different thing. And reality is they are suffering huge financial loss. And remove the country side of it, remove the country's destruction, that let that be aside. On top of that, the reality was they were making boatload of money because America messed up space shuttle. And when they messed up the space shuttle, they had no way of sending astronauts. And consequence, ISS is designed to be manned 24/7. Now, when they have basically astronauts launching service solo, they could charge whatever they wanted to. But after a while, Dragon came to be, and Dragon capsule is now sending people, and far more comfortably, far more reliably, far more quickly. So that ticket price that they were making GG amounts of money, that's gone. On top of that, growth of private space sector itself is a very big challenge, because back in the days, America had like too much bureaucracy, too much paperwork, too much red tapes. So their financial cost was not low enough. Like, it was there, but it was not low enough. Now Russia only had to undercut it by a little bit, and then voila, every private company is just using Russian systems. And it was very well known, well respected, and experienced. So people were like happy with it. That was also bringing a lot of money. But after SpaceX literally have a human rated system, and they have a rocket system that's like launching things faster than anybody else, that's not working out. And in terms of small satellite, Electron rocket is also taking that part of the pie, and Astra is also trying to take that part of the pie. Realistically, they are not in a position where they have like GG amounts of money financially in a national sense. Their space agency is not printing money as they used to. So it's not a position where you can say, oh, we're gonna make our own. I'm like, right now is the worst time. You could have done that when you everything was working for you. You could have done that time, or at least lay the foundation on it, which you can build right now. That would be a different thing, but you did not do that. So right now saying like we're gonna do that, it sounds off. And NASA and ESA, neither of them got an official memo, quote unquote. So far, last time I checked, they have not gotten anything that this is official, this is gonna happen. So let's see. Everybody is hoping that it's just pandering. Now, what will happen after 2024? Now, Cygnus, when it was launched, and Cygnus was from day one, it was designed for reboostability, meaning the vector is designed in such a way that it can actually reboost it. It tried and it failed. The first try was a failure. However, after some bug fixing, they fired it again, and again, it was still a trial run, so it was doing it what we call limited boost, so only gentle push. It did work out. So in principle, at this point in time, Cygnus has the ability or tested ability to actually reboost the system. But right now, still we are relying on Russian system. And there was another system also in design, that is Boeing Starliners, Dreamliner, that's supposed to have the proper reboosting capability, which has enough oomph where it can reboost enough. Because you have to understand, reboost itself is only one aspect of it. You also have to do what we call debris avoidance maneuvers. That itself is also tricky, because that could happen randomly. You will not get notice that, oh, we're gonna do reboost now. Randomly, a debris is there, you gotta move. So that is the whole point. But all things considered, by 2024 this should be operational. By 2024 this should be operational and tested, well tested. So realistically, it should be feasible to sustain ISS till 2024, even after that, assuming Russia does not want to pull their stuff out. Now, if they want to pull their stuff out, that's a whole kind of firm that, practically speaking, is just not worth it. At that point in time, it's just not worth it, because be mindful, ISS is a built structure. It's not just modules attached. That's not a Gen 3 space station. Gen 3 space station is Chinese space station. They can just dock modules and remove modules. But ISS is a built module, meaning people actually went outside and attached wires, attached cables, attached panels. So it's not something like doing. You can't do that. So it will be very hard to maintain. Even if Russia is just like, okay, we're going to let the part be, which is not going to maintain and we're just going to eat out of there, that still would create a scenario where it's very, very hard to maintain. Not impossible. And not to mention, we will be very close to having the reboostability that we need. And again, having two independent vehicles that can do reboosting, that would be even better. But it still will not be super easy. It will not be a smooth sailing. So the biggest victim of this sort of quick change is Axiom Space, simply because they're supposed to use ISS as a fertile ground, so to say, a support basically. Now, if you make a module, a small module that can sustain everything, can it be done? Yes, China actually tried to do that. Problem is the interior space gets compromised. If you try to put everything on day one, if you have a module and you're like, I'm going to put everything inside that module, solar modules, cooling modules, everything. Yeah, can you do that? Yes, battery, power management system, water recycling, everything. It's just like it will be barely have enough space. That's why, and not to mention, that's very difficult to sell to private individuals. Astronauts will do, because half of astronauts are in the early days they were just military officials. So that's a different thing. But for private individual, they will ask a bit more luxury. So the idea was they're going to have a module which is very big, very spacious. Will have bare minimum of auxiliary systems, and then it's going to dock with ISS. Once they have docked with ISS, and then they're going to receive the power and cooling, because cooling is very big issue in space. After that, they will gonna still do the same thing, attach few more modules that will allow them to have higher revenue collection. Using that revenue collection, they will slowly over time will add a power and cooling module of their own, and then they can detach from ISS. That was the idea, that was the plan. But at this point in time, it's kind of impossible to do in 2 years, because at best case scenario, they are expecting to launch first module in 2024. Now, I do not know what extent this module is self-powered. Can it sustain astronauts for 1 day, or under a day? Should be feasible. If you have a Dragon capsule, and Dragon capsule also has its own solar panel and cooling system, and maybe they work out a deal, because that service module does have enough space where things can be done. Maybe that just becomes this is an independent module. You just go there, and Dragon itself acts as a bit more buffer, a bit more power and cooling, so it can survive on its own. And then they will scrap all others add-ons, and they're like, first thing, we gotta make sure we have power and cooling. Then they're gonna expand it. That they are in the very tricky situation. Again, inherently they're designed in such a way that it's supposed to be self-powered, but economically they were not designed in that way. Economically, they were get first thing going, start to have some revenue. Based on that revenue, you start to take more loans, and then you start to build out more, and then have even more revenue. Then you put the GE thing, and then you have chilling out. So that's the whole thing. They have to change this plan if this 2024 deal is real. If NASA flat out says after 2024, yeah, it's just too unfeasible to maintain ISS, this plan would be in a very serious jeopardy. But let's see what happens. They are the one that's right now sweating bricks at this point in time. So is this a good thing? Well, it could be. It could be. You have to understand this. ISS is actually falling apart, like literally, because it's getting through too much heating and cooling. Now, look, wait a minute. They're surrounded by vacuum. How the heck they are heating and cooling? Well, if they were in geostationary, they will rarely heat up because geostationary only goes through Earth's shadow sometimes, like just sometimes around 2 times a year. That's like you will be in constant temperature. You want constant temperature. That's awesome. But ISS goes through sun, super lot amount of GG amounts of heat, and then goes through shadow where it dumps all the energy using photons. So it drops in temperature also. So that creates expansion and contraction, expansion, contraction. It's brutal compared to, let's say, a road highway. It heats up during day, cools down during night. That's one day, one cycle. This puppy is going through multiple cycles per day. So inherently, all the metals joints are now fatigued. They have many cracks they have been trapped. They had air leaks that nobody knew where the heck it's happening from. Because again, whole structure has reached a point where they are like inherently fragile. Again, it happens. It's a metal structure. Will be surviving for 20 years. That's supposed to happen. Again, if it was in an orbit where it was like you're getting constant sunlight, that's super easy. Then I would easily expect this puppy to last 30 or 40 years. But because of the cooling and heating, inherently metal is like, bro, I can't take this anymore. And not to mention, these are space parts, as light as possible. Inherently, they don't have enough oomph to withstand it for decades. If this was made out of submarine metal, yeah, that would have been like, yeah, we got 50, 60 more years. But right now, it's not that capacity. And we have learned as much as we can learn from this. You can look at that, like now we have add-on patch-on solar panels, literally speaking. So it has reached a point where everything about it has degraded. The cooling system, the heating system, the power delivery system, everything is just like, I'm old, man, I'm old. So, and they had to decommission it. Let's be very clear. Original timeline for decommission was 2024. So they had to decommission it sooner or later. They extended it to 2028. Then they are like, 2028, like we have to decommission it. So here's the deal. It's just 4 years earlier. It's not too big of a deal. It was like, we have to do it. So it's just like a, clear deadline. Now, is there a benefit to NASA? Let's say that happens, like bam, done. Is there a benefit to NASA? Absolutely. It will free up boatload of funds, around $1.2 billion per year kind of fund for free. Like that's a GG amounts of money. How GG amounts of money? Curiosity rover kind of GG amounts of money. So that's a lot of money. And during this time, it could create a gap. And gaps are amazing because it creates new opportunity. Meaning, would SpaceX exist if this puppy worked properly? No. Flat out. If space shuttle would have worked, we would not have SpaceX. Flat out. That's the reality of it. And it's almost a natural cycle where you have old things that are amazing, awesome, but they do die. And then they make space for new things. Like same thing will happen with me. Same thing will happen with you. And you want to, have this sort of thing. That's how life keeps moving forward. So if, let's say, ISS gets, done, like 2024 done. Again, Axiom Space may get extra funding from other private players. They are like, dude, I think Axiom Space, because again, as far as I know, they are the furthest along in development. They have actual module on ground built, and it's supposed to be using SpaceX. So SpaceX is taken care of the part, as in like people can trust on it. Axiom Space is there. If there is no ISS, there's a lot of love there, and maybe NASA could be like, here's $5.5 billion. Just get your space station into orbit as quickly as possible, and that will save up so much money. Again, there is orbital reef also that's working in the background, and now they will have that renewed vigor where it's like, dude, there is space right now. We can take care of it. So it may be a good thing. This may be a rough, thing, like, pulling out a band-aid. It's kind of rough, but you have to do it. So maybe a good thing and time will tell. So this was my presentation on this Russia pulling out in 2024. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.